Let's start. Listen, thank you so much for a massive turnout this evening. That is much appreciated. My wife Nikki is hiding over there. Don't know whether she's trying to be close to the bar or the food. Maybe a bit of both. So the idea of this evening is literally, it is a meet and a greet. Give you a chance to get to know me. I'm Patrick, and obviously my wife Nikki. Once we've finished, please come and say hello, have a chat with us. I have met, several of you over the last few years, but yeah, it's just really informal. Obviously, just to make it clear, I'm not taking over the football club till the end of the season, so anything that's happening right now is not something I can influence. And I've been obviously looking at all the chatter out there. I've been aware of some of the things that have been happening, because obviously AP and I have been having a lot of conversations, and Eamon and Jay, bless him, who's been stepping in to help out with the football club, even though his role really, is with Gloucester Sport, which is still in its infancy and has got a long way to go. So just to tell you a little bit about myself and Nikki. So for the last 4 seasons, I've been operating as chairman of Hungerford Town Football Club in National League South, so playing at the same level. I'm a lifelong Nottingham Forest fan. No booze, no booze, no booze. I'll be here too long if we start that one. So football is something I love. Obviously I am Nottingham born and bred, but I left Nottingham back in 2005. I was actually a sponsor with Nottingham Forest back in the 1990s. Had a box there and watched the players, and was literally watched Nottingham Forest since my late teens and early 20s. So I enjoyed the Brian Clough era. I was 17 when we won the league, 18 the first European Cup, 19 the second. I can name many more. So I was very lucky to have been born at that time. When we moved over to Spain, obviously we couldn't. It was just after Nottingham Forest had been relegated to League One as well, which was crushing. So I bought a season ticket for Malaga. Watched them that season; they got relegated. There's a bit of a theme here, isn't there? No. So all joking aside, and then when we came back from Spain, which is actually just over 10 years ago now, isn't it? 10.5 years ago, we moved down into Wiltshire and then moved over into Berkshire. And obviously, going to watch Nottingham Forest wasn't really practical, although I did go and see them when I could. And I kept saying to my wife, I need a hobby, and I was working with somebody who was the chairman of Cirencester Town, and he was telling me about this stupid guy that was putting money into Hungerford and got them promoted, it won't last, blah 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 blah, and we were literally living 15 minutes from the ground. And I said to my son, we'll go and start watching them. And you know what it's like, one thing leads. I'd never been to a non-league game in my life, but 1 week went by, 2 weeks, a month, we still hadn't got round to it. But we started looking at the results and they were in a bit of a struggle. And then one morning I was getting ready and my wife said, how you said you want a hobby and you were going to go and watch Hungerford Town? I said, yeah. And she said, chairman's leaving, secretary's leaving, treasurer's leaving, manager's leaving. You'd make a good chairman. I said I was only looking for a hobby. I was only going to go and watch them. And to cut a long story short, 10 days later, I was chairman-elect. And it was like being in a beauty competition with no other contenders. So it's been a bit different here. But it's been a joy. It's been a challenge because it's a very small town, a very small population, and to try and compete at this level, where you've got full-time clubs spending huge money on players. The mere fact that we've survived so far in our 6th season, has been nothing short of a miracle. But one thing we have learned is how to build a football club. And when I talk about that, it is a journey, and you can't just focus about what happens on the football pitch. You have to get that match day experience right. You've got to become a hub for your community. You've got to get families involved, juniors involved. You know, one thing we have built is a very good reputation in that small club. The average crowd the season before we took over was 288, and it now stands at 451. I know that's not a lot, but when you're in a population of just 6,000 people, it's actually a huge percentage of the local population. And one thing we realised we had to do is we had to become a good away day destination. So we have been voted by most clubs in National League South as the best away day destination. My wife, Nikki, has to take a massive amount of that credit. You probably all heard about the Bullpit Beast and the Burger, and I know some of you, when you came and played us in the FA Cup, you were very lucky that day, but a lot of sampled our hospitality. Those of you who did come, you know that I'm actually on the gate on match days. We have a special deal, our 4 for a score, where, you know, I welcome away fans, home fans, chat to them, and, you know, that recipe, you know, has worked really, really well off the pitch. You know, a chairman, ultimately, yes, you can support your manager, you can try and make as much funds available as possible to improve your squad, but once they cross the line, chairman has got very little influence of what happens on the pitch. But one thing you can control is what happens off it. And I think that's something that myself and Nikki have become pretty expert at. I've run businesses since I was 18 years old. I've had some huge successes. I've had failures. You know, most people have in their lives. You know, I'm 62 years old, but I've become older and wiser, and I know that I can now make a difference in things that I do. And if I'm going to do something, and Nikki is very similar to me, I have to be able to make a difference. And that's something that I know we've done there. Yes, it's been a tough old season, but at least we've got the FA Trophy as well, which is giving us a little bit of excitement. But the opportunity to get involved with Gloucester City was one that we just felt we had to do. Alex and I met, in fact, Hungerford Town were the very first team to play here in pre-season for the 2021 season. So it was your first season back, and of course we all only played, was it 15, 16 matches? You were sat at the top, you know, under Mr. Rowe. We were actually sat in 7th, which was like unbelievable, you know. And Alex and I were then part of a group of chairmen that desperately wanted to see the season continue. You know, the lottery funding had come in. It seemed such a shame to let that all go. But anyway, that's the past. So Alex and I developed a bit of an affinity, and he used me as a bit of a sounding board sometimes, and we would always look out for Gloucester's results. You sort of became our team in the National League North. We always looked out to see how you were doing. Likewise, Alex would always see how we were doing, and a friendship came. And Alex had been talking to me a while about, he felt for some frustrations in what he could do for Gloucester, what he couldn't do for Gloucester. You know, you've only literally had the one full season here, you know, which was last season. You're only sort of halfway through this season and still got fantastic opportunity of getting to the playoffs. And tongue-in-cheek a few times over the last year or so, Alex would say, you make a great chairman here. And I'd hold on a minute, and it drip, drip, drip. And then when he's telling me his plans, and I'd seen his statement that was going to go out, you know, before probably anybody saw it, because we do talk in confidence. And he said, no, I've got too many work commitments now. I'm out of the country a lot. Eamon, who has dedicated, you know, 27 years, you know, to this football club, you know, paid winding up orders to keep Gloucester going. You know, they've done one hell of a job, you know, and I don't think we would be sat here at all if those two people hadn't got involved with this football club. So they will always be a very, very important part. And actually, I think commercially, for them to remain the owners of the facility, as sort of like trustees, they'll still be sponsors, they'll still be fans. I actually think that's a positive thing. We've all seen reckless owners go into football clubs, make reckless decisions, borrow money against grounds, and sadly many times that ends in tears. So I think the way this is being structured commercially is actually a positive. I know there's been some chatter about who's going to own the ground, etc. Many clubs don't own the facility they occupy. At Hungerford, we are actually on what's called common land, which is administered by a charity. But I negotiated a long lease, and over the last 4 seasons, those who did come, there's a stand at the top of the ground that didn't exist when I first came in. It was built over 3 summers. We built new changing rooms. We put in an extended kitchen, commercial kitchen with, you know, state-of-the-art equipment, a new roof on the bar, new ceilings. So we've been able to invest still in the facilities. Now here, if we're going to get that match day experience spot on, we will need to invest in some of the facilities. There are things that will need improving. You know, Michael kindly spent a lot of time with us the other week looking at all the different catering outlets, and that's something that we feel is really important. You know, and I think a lot of football clubs, they just think it's about football, but we're in the leisure industry, hospitality industry, the entertainment industry, and people can spend their £10, £20 wherever they want, and there's so many places that are out there trying to get that leisure pound. So it's really important that we get that offering absolutely spot on. It's not going to happen overnight. You know, we're not going to come in and wave some magic wand, and there will always be some issues that will take some time to overcome. But again, one of my sayings is, you know, our eyes are in the front of our head for a reason. You know, we need to look forward, and we're hoping that all of the fans will come on the journey with us. I'm hoping that most of the decisions we make you're all happy with, but we all know in football there's always little factions, isn't there? And I've seen, you know, obviously all the chatter about team colours, how many years ago the old traditions, it was always red, then it became yellow and black, and now it's red and yellow. So I've seen all of those things, and lots of the people that were probably here on Saturday might have only ever been to see Gloucester City since they were here, in this reincarnation of the club. You know, no matter how long it's been, you know, there's new fans coming along all the time, and there's no point in them getting dragged into various issues. I know the desperation for the TN, you know, I've been talking about that, and again, when it's big crowds like Hereford, you know, you do have the council, you have SAGs on your back, you've got the police saying we want this, we want that. Now there is now a commitment from the club, and it's something I totally support, that when it's a non-segregated game, the TN will always be at your disposal. And we will now look at various ways. There's a strip of land that hopefully might come available, and when all the works is done, there's going to be a new entrance in from the Sainsbury's, and it could well be then that we might be able to satisfy the authorities on all games, so that we could let everybody use the TN, which I know there's a group of you that are very passionate about. So we will try and give you as many little wins as we possibly can. We will bring back a printed programme. It's something that I believe in passionately. It doesn't make money. In fact, most printed programmes actually lose money. But you have sponsors that you need to acknowledge in those programmes. You have player sponsors. I know at Hungerford it's £200 for a player. I think here it's similar. You know, those people want their names to be under that player. They want people to see it. Away fans in particular, they like to collect the programme from every away game. And then your sponsors. You know, we've got some big sponsors involved with Gloucester City. You know, they deserve that recognition to be in that printed programme. So that's something we will be bringing back. I'd also like to see a fans forum set up that would have a regular monthly meeting, you know, with myself to discuss things, all Gloucester City, concerns, thoughts, ideas, maybe half a dozen people. That, I guess, you know, I know there's an active supporters trust, community trust that get involved with the club and trying to help the club where they can. Again, I would welcome any engagement with them to see how the two can work together. On a commercial point, obviously the facility has the ability to generate income outside of match days. So that also makes it a more attractive proposition, because our landlords, who are fans and supporters, sponsors and trustees, there's opportunities to have income from the establishment, not just from the football club. So we're not going to be overburdened by excessive rental agreements. We will put ourselves in a position that as we grow the club, we can invest money in all of the facilities and to support the manager, on the pitch, which, ultimately, when you're a purist football fan, we all want to see a winning team, and we know how tricky that can be at times. Gloucester also find themselves in a very strange position, because whilst we're in the season we're in, to actually do a budget for next season, which will be our first season, at this point you don't actually know which division Gloucester City are going to be in. One, in a very positive way, it could go up, but if 3 northern teams come down, it will end up in National League South, which is a completely different dynamic. So it does have some little elements that you can't second guess it. You would hope with 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I mean, at the moment, it actually does look like it's going to be 2 north, 2 south go down, doesn't it? At the moment. But again, if actually 3 south came down, you've got Oxford City in a similar situation currently in National League South. If 3 southern teams came down, they would probably get moved into the north. So there are a lot of anomalies around this football club, which, when you've got your hand on the tiller and you want to make the right decisions and you want to get everything right, it's quite a tricky one. Average crowds in the north tend to be bigger. However, it could be that a lot of people in the south spend a bit more money, because there is more money, and you can charge a bit more for a burger, you can charge a bit more for a pint. Sounds crazy, but our average bar spend, which I've been going through with Jay and various people, our average bar spend per head was over 3 times what Gloucester's was on Saturday. Spend per head. Our food spend per head, which we've gone through with Michael, is probably 20-30% more than what it is here. So that's actually very encouraging, because there's some opportunities if we get that offering right, and we get volunteers involved. Again, anybody that would like to get involved with the football club, that feel that they can help in any way, please let us know. We are run at Hungerford Town pretty much by volunteers completely. We have a bar steward who is part-time and a groundsman. That's it. They're the only people who get paid within the club. Now we're very fortunate that, because there is Gloucester Sports, which is supported by mainly Alex, we've got people that are helping the football club at the moment massively to fill a void after Dave left, because there was an operator. There's been paid people in various roles at the club, but for some reason or another, some of those haven't worked out. So we're fortunate there are some paid staff that are involved with this football club that are here to help. Now my wife Nikki will become the full-time operations manager at this football club. She also helps on commercials. We inherited a situation where there was about, maybe £10,000 coming in the season in sponsorship and donations. We've now got that up to nearly £80,000. So when you look at the city here, and we've got some really good sponsors already involved with the football club that I'm told want to continue, that association. So the opportunity here commercially is absolutely huge. So the main reason that we're making the move is we got to the point where we just felt we couldn't do any more. The smallest budget in the league, it's always a struggle. Always was the smallest average crowd. We've actually got Concord below us, and they will get relegated without a shadow of a doubt, because you just can't afford to compete. So the number one challenge for us is, how do we get more people coming on a match day? and getting involved with the club, with the juniors, with the academy, with the ladies team, and giving them all a reason to be here on match day and to feel like one club. You know, Gloucester City needs to be one club. First team, yes, most important, but ladies team, juniors, academy, they've all got to feel involved. They've all got to feel loved. They've all got to feel that we care about them. And then they'll come through the doors, and then they talk to their friends, family. We have a situation where we all of our registered juniors, and we've actually got 200 now registered at Hungerford Town, which for a small town is a lot. They are all allowed in on match days free of charge. So under 11s will be free of charge when we move here, without a shadow of a doubt. And we also look where there's something for parents, which we had some lottery money at the beginning of this season, so we gave a chunk of that for season tickets for parents of juniors, and the crowds benefits, but they eat you out of chips and food, and so whilst they might be there for free of charge, but they wouldn't have been there otherwise if we didn't make them feel welcome, if we didn't invite them. So it's getting that feel of belonging. And you know, I mean, what's the population? Is it around 150,000, the wider? You know, so I look what we've achieved with a tiny population. If we could just replicate just a tiny part of that, you know, we could be here in 1 or 2 or 3 seasons having, you know, a 2,000 home crowd. You know, not 2,000 because Hereford brought, some people say 500, some people say 800, but it was a big number, wasn't it? It was a big number. You know, we had 524 on Saturday because Tamworth brought about 150. Because we're a good destination, you know, and that's how we survive. So if we can get that balance, get more local fans involved, and get more away fans seeing us as a good destination where we make them feel welcome, we feel that that is something that we'd like to replicate. From a media point of view, again, we run a media team just with all volunteers. I work with them. I sort of direct what we do through a media point of view. Now, I think there has been people that have got involved with media here. So again, if you want to get involved, by all means have a chat with me or let Jay know, and he will put you in touch and you can have my details. So you will find us very approachable, very inclusive, and you know, for Alex and Eamon, they felt we were the right people to take over the football club. Football is something we are very passionate about. You know, whilst I'm a lifelong Forest fan, once that whistle goes, I'm a Hungerford Town fan. And when I'm here, it will be exactly the same. You know, once you invest your time and effort into a football club, it gets into your soul, and you care about it. And we're fortunate that our sons are long gone now, so the footballers get treated like my wife's new children. She sorts out all their kit, makes sure their player meals are nice. Michael, you'll probably be told what they're having this Saturday and next Saturday. Again, make them feel special. It's really important to make people feel special. So that hopefully just gives you a little flavour of who we are and what we're trying to do. And now if there's anybody that's got a specific question, I'm more than happy to answer. If I can answer it, I'll answer it. If I can't answer it and I need time, I'll come back to it.
Are you leaving Hungerford 100%?
Yep, so like I say, very important to understand at this minute in time, we are fully committed to that football club. And we owe it to them. We're not deserters. But the reason we made the announcement so early is because the void we're going to leave there is huge. And we're committed to try and make sure we try and fill that void as much as we can. 2 or 3 people have said, yeah, we'll potentially get involved. And also, you know, for you fans, obviously you saw Alex's statement go out there, you're thinking, oh, what on earth's going to happen? Well, you know, I believe it's a step. I think it's going to be a good step for the football club. We've got to prove that to you. I accept that. But our reputation in football is good. You're welcome to reach out to any Hungerford Town fan. Our fans were almost in tears. You know, that Saturday when the announcement had gone out on the Friday, it was really emotional, to be fair. So he announced that yes, we are going to stay with Hungerford Town until the last game of the season. I will also be there to mentor whoever comes into that chairman's role. But in the meantime, we are learning more and more about the current commercials, what can be done, what can be improved. Again, if we could set up that fans forum, I think that would be a good thing. And maybe we start having the odd meeting perhaps from the end of next month. So end of February, end of March, end of April, we could have a little fans forum meeting. But I say it needs to be quite a small group. If you have too many voices, it doesn't work. So I don't know who's the best person to organise, but you've obviously got your trust, you've got your supporters groups. Pick 6 people that are, you know, sensible, who want to engage. Is that hard? Yeah, no, well, I said Dave's definitely off it. I've already barred him anyway. No, but the idea of a fans forum isn't just to have a moan. The fans forum is about sitting down together and discussing what we can improve and understanding there will be limitations. Like I say, there won't be a magic wand and suddenly everything's sorted out. It's going to take time. You know, like I say, this will be the first time that people that are going to be running the football club are going to be working in the football club on a pretty much a full-time basis. Yes, I've still got a family business, but my sons are involved. You know, I mean, my family business lost Nikki 4 years ago. So she just posted a brochure out, actually. And I think she answered the phone in 2020. So, you know, you will not get a more committed individual than my wife. And if front of house, trust me, there is nobody better in organisational, operational. The fans will grow to love her, without a shadow of a doubt. She's a very, very special person. But I, fortunately, have plenty of time that I can dedicate because it's my hobby. I found that actually running a football club, I quite enjoy it. I think I'm half decent at it. So I want to test myself. You know, this is a test. You know, this could be a huge club. There's no reason why we can't be a National League club. And who knows from there on in. So hopefully that answers that question. Anybody else got a particular question? Yeah.
Patrick, I know yourself and Nikki are quite active on social media.
Yep.
I don't know if you've seen the account Lead the Vox.
Yep.
So they put out a couple of polls.
I saw that.
Asking supporters what they believe the biggest issue currently is in the football club.
Yeah, I saw that.
I'm not 100%, but I believe a lot of fans are saying, you know, the entrance to the stadium for them is a real big issue. I'm sure you've seen tonight coming in that, frankly, it's pretty poor.
Yeah.
Right, it's pretty poor. The general surface, it's a lot of potholes. And I just think the entrance to the stadium is pretty poor. Like, is this something that we're going to try and address as soon as possible?
Yeah. So again, to improve the match day experience, that would cover things like that. Now, there's some elements from my discussions with our landlords, AP and Eamon. Some areas are under our control. Some areas aren't under our control. Now, obviously, as part of the lease agreement, there will be responsibilities on the landlord to have certain things right, but absolutely, you know, we want to improve the matchday experience in every way we possibly can. Again, that might not happen overnight, but yeah, that's something that I'm aware of. And yeah, first impressions, isn't it? Signage, the way you drive in, lighting. Yeah, so yeah, I've been seeing all that social media. You're right, yeah, we are. I only set up a Twitter account when I got involved with football. Hence, it is HTFC Patrick. I mean, are you okay if I keep it like that?
No.
So, yeah, it's going to be a tricky one, that, isn't it, really? But obviously, when I set that up, so my wife was saying, like, you've got to get on Twitter. Twitter? Oh, I don't want to be on Twitter. Anyway, but it is actually probably the best platform for football. But yeah, absolutely. I've looked at all of the Vote polls and seeing what people think, and hence, you know, I know there's some real passionate segments, you know, of the fan base where certain things matter a lot, and then there's a huge
Games.
Yeah.
I know the women have a Twitter account, but games like that, there's not a lot.
No, it should be shared
online.
Yeah.
About what is actually going on at the stadium.
Absolutely.
Why we should encourage people to come down here.
Yeah. No, well, again, when I say one club, so the official social media for the football club needs to let people know what's happening with the juniors, with the ladies, with the absolute. You are spot on. And that is an area that, again, I sort of control at the moment. I'm not the techie. I'm not the man that does the graphics or anything like that. But I tell our team, right, start doing the ticket posts. As you know, we do the 4 for a score. We do the discounted tickets online up until 12 noon on a Saturday or 6 p.m. on a Tuesday match. So yeah, no, social media is really, really important. And if we're going to attract new people, and also, again, your sponsors need a shout out on there. That it gives them more value, more reason to be involved, to have a board. So social media is something that we've got to get a better grip on. I mean, Jay's been doing it as a highly paid, unpaid volunteer, underworked, overappreciated. So, people have stepped in and tried, but you're absolutely right. Some of the things that have been happening on social media, they definitely can be improved. So that's something that will be a very, very top on priority. Yeah.
Yeah, sort of following on from that, I mean, to compete against the rugby in Gloucester is the main thing. Simple as that. And Gloucester promote themselves, not just social media, it's out there, posters, things like that, flyers. We don't see anything from Gloucester out there apart from Facebook, Twitter, whatever. There was a round robin tournament here the other week, Forest Green, Cheltenham and Gloucester. Cheltenham didn't turn up. They didn't come, so the game, so they didn't come, no fans. I think there was 30 or 40 people here. Never saw it promoted at all. So following on from that, I think the promotion side against the rugby is what needs to be focused on, because that's where, like, we had guys turning up here Saturday, they'd been to the rugby, they were getting hammered, so they came here.
Yeah.
So you can understand that, but that's where everyone's going to go.
Yeah.
Gloucester, they're going to. I think it's getting out. It's not just social media; it's getting everything out there.
Yeah. No, listen.
I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah. No. From a marketing point of view, you want to try and touch the public as many times as you can, wherever you can. So we will look at having tie-ups with local businesses. I will personally speak to the rugby club. I was brought up in a rugby family, as it happens. So whilst I love watching football, I actually played rugby. So there's plenty of rugby fans that like to go and watch football, and vice versa. I don't really. I've heard all those stories. Well, yeah, Gloucester never worked because it's a rugby city. Well, there's plenty of massive.
Cheltenham's just next door.
Yeah, Leicester were the biggest rugby club in the country for many, many years, but Leicester still managed to win the Premiership, and I hate saying that, but they did manage to do it, didn't they? They're not the most successful team in the East Midlands, of course. But.
Just a couple of points I'd like to ask. One, have you become the major shareholder at the club? Have you bought the shares and now the owner of the club?
Okay, so the commercial agreement is the football club, not the facility, is going to go into a company that I will be the majority shareholder of. So Alex and Eamon won't have any input into how the football club is run. So they will merely be landlords, trustees as I would call them, sponsors and supporters. So the football club will be in a business under our ownership, and we will make all the decisions taking it forward. So commercially, that's how it works. Now, you've actually reminded me to say something. So if there are some people that would be interested in getting involved with that as a business, and they feel they could really put something in the pot, whether that be from a financial point of view, from a business point of view, we would not exclude having some sort of director representation in that football club with a shareholding football club, but we will always control the majority of the shares.
Would that include fan involvement in terms of the sport trust and
that could absolutely involve fan involvement, because again, if we want to grow this, I can't do it on my own. So again, we've got to go on this journey together. You know, I need your support and you need my support. That's the only way this is going to work. You know, and you have to accept, you know, Alex, very busy businessman. That's nearly a tongue twister. Young family. Eamon, young family number 3, is it? Oh, sorry, no, young family. No, I'm joking. You know, they've got a lot of commitments. So, you know, we're going to be channeling a lot of our time and effort. This is going to be the biggest part of our life. So, you know, we would certainly welcome any conversation with a group that feel they would like to be represented at board level in the new company. We would have no issue with that whatsoever.
Just on from that, if there was something required in the grounds, an improvement, you've already spoken about the entrance to the ground. Would that be the responsibilities of the landlord or yourselves?
It depends what it is. So, like I said, at Hungerford, you know, we don't own the land. We have a long lease on the land, but we've still managed to build, you know, a new stand, new kitchen, new changing rooms. So things that need to be invested in to make the club better, well, it's in the interest of the football club to do that. But there will be some elements that will be the responsibility of the landlord.
So what about something like an extension to a stand or something? That would be the
football club. Absolutely. We need the permission of the landlord, and it might be that, you know, Eamon and AP might see that as an improvement that enhances the asset, may want to get involved, but ultimately any improvements to the ground and the running facility will be the responsibility of the football club.
And do you foresee any of those changes before you start with the chairmanship?
Well, obviously it's not too far away, is it? And we're still in a season. So there's some things that we've chatted about that we know need some attention, and there's some feedback being waited from the council regarding land ownership and various things. But I would hope we could start some progress as soon as possible.
What sort of rental lease will you be taking out on the ground?
Again, that's a commercial agreement between ourselves and the owners, which that isn't really for public knowledge, but they are very supportive of the football club. So, you know, please don't think that AP and Eamon just saying, right, here, fight, go on, off you get, and we want 100,000. It's not like that. This is what I would call a very friendly agreement, and AP and Eamon, one of their biggest driving things in this, and the fact that we are taking over the club, is they want to make sure the football club's in safe hands. So this isn't about them suddenly getting more money out of the football club because they're not putting money in it. This is about doing the right thing for Gloucester City.
Just one other point.
This is your last one. He's trouble here, isn't he?
I just wondered about what you're feeling about paying cash on the gatings.
So at Hungerford we take cash and card. We try and encourage people to buy tickets online, and we will have discount things. We won't use 4 for a score, but we've already come up with a few ideas. So there will be a special online ticket that will include entrance, a meal deal and a drink. So we will be introducing that. So I'm not anti-cash, but yes, in the modern world, if you can try and get people to prepay tickets online, it's quicker. You know, you can get into a stadium quicker, you know who's here. You know, so there are a lot of benefits. And also, you know, you've got to remember, we're managing a much smaller attendance. You know, our ambition here is to get sort of 1,500 as sort of the minimum. So that becomes a small day. Now, I know last year that was still a really good day, but we've got to really get there. You know, if we want to be really competitive and we have serious aspirations of going up the pyramid, you've got to have a solid foundation. You know, we see clubs where benefactors are around and they keep putting money in, but one day it always stops. You know, I inherited a situation where they'd had a benefactor. They would never have got from step 4 to step 2, and he was putting in 6 figures plus when there was just a crowd of 289. You know, all the money was spent on the squad. You know, the roof was leaking, the pitch was crap. You know, they didn't have the stand, the check. You've got to build it properly, sustainable. So, in real terms, does anybody really own a football club? You're just a custodian or a caretaker. So, we've done when I took the role at Hungerford, I said I'd do 3 to 5 years. So we'll have done 4. We will leave it in a completely different place to where we found it, with a really good blueprint, doesn't have any debt, you know, it's well run and it lives within its means. Here, if we've got ambition of being, you know, a National League club or maybe even further, the only way we can do that is by building a proper football club on solid foundations that with a sustainable model. It's the only way it can be done. Yes?
You talked a lot about the commercial, I think that's all really important, but what's the footballing ambition at the club as well going forward?
Go as far as we can.
Yeah.
There's no limit to that. I mean, at the moment, you know, obviously we've got Steve as our manager. He's under contract to the end of next season. I haven't had a sit down and a conversation with him as yet. Obviously, I know him because I met him, you know, many times in National League South. But it's very important that he focuses on this season, the job he's got in hand. So I'm not really getting involved in the football side this season because I don't think that would be right. But then when the time is right, and we're talking about next season, players that are going to be retained, players that might be moved on, players that will be brought in, then I will be involved in that all over it. So at Hungerford, I do the negotiations with every single player. The manager decides who he wants, he tells me who he wants, why he wants him, gives him an indication of we're a poor club, we can't pay a lot of money, and then I take over and I do the negotiations with the actual player. So the manager can just focus purely on trying to get the right people and the football on the pitch. We look after everything outside of that. Yes?
Welcome, by the way.
Thank you.
And thank you for everything. Just pick up on a couple of points you made about, you mentioned about colours and you mentioned about volunteers as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that possibly one of the reasons why I think we're probably seeing less volunteers and less sort of fan engagement maybe than we probably did during the 13 years that we were outside of Gloucester is because Wells, I think there's a feeling possibly like, I certainly don't speak for everyone in this room, but in the wider fan base, that Wells were very grateful for Alex and Eamon and bringing us back to Gloucester.
Absolutely.
That possibly there's a feeling that instead of being like this fresh start, that we kind of lost something along the way.
Oh, yeah, I get that.
Related to around club identity.
While you were nomads.
Around, I wouldn't even say that. I think it was stronger then than it is now.
Yeah.
Which doesn't seem right.
I suppose it was us against the world then, wasn't it? When you.
I think so, yeah. And I think it's not just the colour change. It's the, I would say, I don't want to use too strong a word, but there's been maybe a kind of censorship of 40 years of history wearing a particular colour that has become a dirty word, and I just wondered what your thoughts are on that as a football fan yourself and the importance of history creating, you know, to be able to attract fans and keep fans at the club, really.
Yeah, they're all very, very valid points and sensitive issues to lots of different people, no doubt. But having that inclusion with volunteers being involved, for me, that's really, really important. Again, if somebody's a volunteer for a football club and they do things to help that football club, they really feel part of it. And I actually think football at this level, you know, no matter how much money you've got, without volunteers, it doesn't really have a soul. I mean, you even look at Ebbsfleet yesterday, who spend over £1 million just on their playing budget, and Damien Irving, their CEO, is a really good friend of mine. You know, it was volunteers that came and put the covers on the pitch the day before, took the covers off, and they were the only match on. You know, everybody, we were off sadly, and we had covers down at the Frosty end, but we still couldn't get the game on. So volunteers for me are absolutely critical. Team colours, I mean, funnily enough, Hungerford back in the day, 30, 40 years ago, always played in blue. But then somebody changed it to black and white. Nobody even knows why. but now everybody just seems to have accepted that it's black and white. And I think, forgive me if I'm wrong, many years ago, originally Gloucester were red, but then the Westbury Homes thing happened, and it became black and so there'll be some really older members of Gloucester fans that only remember red, and then there'll be members that only saw it in the black and yellow, and there'll be new fans that have come in recent years since you moved here that have only seen it in the red and the yellow. So, a colour isn't going to make a football club. Yet tradition, could I imagine Nottingham Forest not playing in red and white? Well, no, of course I can't. But about building a football club, it can't be just about the colours. Some things somebody's going to have to get over, because there'll always be a group that want this, there'll be a group that want that, and there'll be a group that want that. And I think that's why we need to go on a journey together. And like I say, all of my decisions, they won't all be popular to every single person, but I promise you every decision I make will be with the right intention to grow the football club, ingratiate ourselves to the community, our fans, so that you do feel part of it.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Patrick, the football club will be leasing the ground from Avon AP.
Correct.
Will the football club have exclusive use of the Tiger Turf? And if not, how does the arrangement impact on the availability of the Tiger Turf for the women's teams and the younger teams? And a sort of follow-up question on that one. We've talked about your thoughts about the first team's development. I'm a big fan of the women's side here. Be interested to know what your thoughts are about the development, not only of the women's team, but the women's game, but also, of course, the youngsters that we've seen out there as we sit in here talking.
So the facility will still be maximised and used because it's revenue. Whether it's ladies' team, whether it's juniors, whether it's academies. Developing academies, and this is something Jay and I have spoken to, that there's some quite rich pickings out there. There's some football clubs that have huge academies, really just as a cash cow, not even really interested in the youngsters, which I don't agree with, because I think they sell them a false dream that they're actually just really using them to get basically £2,000 a year out of them, because roughly there's about £4,000 currently available from the government, and most academies, they get half of that money because they've given them a student and the educator gets the other half. So there's a lot of clubs that just treat it as a cash cow. Now so all of those will still be fully supported and they will be integrated. So again, the one club, so nothing will change there. We want that ladies team to grow, we want them to be supported, we want them to feel part of Gloucester Football Club. Now, the use of the facility, whether that income goes to the landlords or somebody goes to the football club, it doesn't really matter. The most important thing is they will still be supported and they will still be integrated.
But they will still be able to use the...
Absolutely.
You're not going to have a situation that exists whereby Gloucester City Football Club wish to make use of the Tiger Turf, but the landlords wish to use it for another event, or as yesterday, Plymouth playing Swindon Town.
Yeah. No. So we'll look to maximise the commerciality of the facility, and I will help with that with my business skills. But no. The football club will always have first call. So for training, for match days, but outside of that, nobody else will be pushed out at all.
Super, thank you.
This one here.
Two things really. When you talked about where we could go as a club in terms of National League, have you a sort of time frame in mind in terms of when that might be? Is it 3-5 years?
That this minute in time, that's an impossible question to ask.
I just wondered if
no, I don't.
When you come in to take over, most like chief executives of businesses, they have a plan in terms of where they want to be, where they want the business to be. Yeah. I just wondered if
they do.
Nothing to hold you to it.
No, not at all. And again, how many of those people that come with those plans, fail miserably, sadly, don't they? Again, because of the vagaries of where we might be playing. So next season, at the moment, it could be National League. Wouldn't that be amazing? It could be. But it could be National League North, it could be National League South. So I think to sort of set that ambition, I think the target for me is I want to see that 1,500 as a baseline. So we need to get people enjoying coming to Gloucester City. We need them to enjoy the way that our bars are run, with the offerings we go, with our food, the whole atmosphere, the entertainment, get them coming in early. The quicker we can do that, the quicker we'll go up the pyramid. Because you don't have to be a rocket scientist to work out. So my rule of thumb, and this is how it works for me, you can spend roughly £10 per average crowd per week on your playing budget, roughly. So our average here has been 766, it's now jumped to 800 and something, we're 451. That's rule of thumb. So you don't have to, if we could get it to 1,500 as an average, we could spend £15,000 a week. At Hungerford we spend £4,500. So it's chicken and the egg. Build the brand, build the experience, and we can spend more money on improving facilities. Not all the money would always be spent on the team, because you've also got to improve facilities as well, and it's getting that balance right. So the ambition is to go up the pyramid, setting a time. I'd love to think that within 3 years we would have had at least one promotion. I'd be disappointed if we hadn't done that, because I'm confident that even next season we'll make progress. But I think the second season will probably see everything that we're trying to do embedded more and accepted culturally, and that's when I think you'll see us have more cash available. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine. And one other point, you talked about the ticket sales and trying to get these offers and stuff. What about the season ticket holders? This club in the past has tried to get as many people to buy season
Absolutely, we'll do the same.
up front,
Always
but
there.
then during the season they seem to be not looked after, if you like, because all the offers like £10 to come in, actually it's more expensive. I'm a season ticket holder. When we had the £10 a game, it was actually more expensive for me as a season ticket holder to turn up, even though I paid in advance, rather than not paying that money in advance and turning up on the day and paying £10.
Yeah, no. Early bird season tickets is very important, because you want to try and bank as much money before the season starts as possible. So early bird season tickets, getting your sponsorship deals, getting them paid in, you want to start the season with a bit of a buffer. And at Hungerford Town, the season tickets come in where I am. So I greet every single season ticket holder at Hungerford. There's only 60 of them, so it's quite easy. But I hope I can say that to 600 here, because I'll still be there to welcome. So no, season ticket holders will benefit from any offers, absolutely. And the way we construct our offer is, so on the 4 for a score offer, the season ticket entry and the 4 for a score, if you take the entry part of it, are roughly the same. So if you want to do the 4 for a score instead of a season ticket and get your drink and your food, you're paying roughly the same as if you'd done a season ticket. So there's no real disadvantage. And so we'll look at everything and we'll try and make sure we get that balance right. I think, young man, you had a...
I know you spoke about stability in a few of the answers you've given. It seems like in the last couple of years there's been a lot of sort of chopping and changing around here. We've had managers coming and going, we've had players coming and going on a regular basis. My question is for you, you've said that Stephen King's under contract for next year. Has he got potentially any idea of his budget and what he's going to be able to do? Because I think having a manager with his experience, his know-how, his connections, having him here for a whole season, I think is going to be massive for us, or having a manager for a whole season is going to be a massive thing, because I can't really think in recent years when we've had a manager that has done all of pre-season and a whole season. I just said for you, has there been any conversation with Steve about what he can expect going forward?
Yeah, no,
are you quite keen? I look at your record, you don't seem to be very often you don't seem to be chopping and changing.
I haven't swapped to
players
manager.
and managers.
Yeah.
So for you,
Yeah.
what is your plan going forward the next season?
So, yeah, you're quite right. So the manager I inherited left the club at the end of my first season, and then I recruited Danny Robinson, who, you know, when you look at what we're working with, and that £4,500 is manager, coaches, physios and players. So it's rough, you know, it's a teeny weeny budget. No, I like to build a relationship with a manager. I like that manager to also build a relationship with the fans. Lots of engagement is really important. Now, like I say, I haven't had a conversation with Steve as yet, because it's been agreed that at the moment he focuses on this season. I believe there has been some changes made. Obviously, you've seen some players leave, some players come in, and Steve is definitely managing that. And as far as I'm aware, any player that leaves or comes into this football club is his decision on the final thing, whether it happens or not. So from a budgetary point of view, obviously towards the end of the season, that's something I will sit down with Steve. Now, how he feels about the changes, you know, I don't really know. Obviously he would have felt a little bit maybe insecure, wondering what will happen, etc. But, you know, I like stability. I think it's good for a football club. I think too many football clubs pull the trigger too quickly. You only got to look at, I mean, Arteta at Arsenal. There was people screaming for him to go a year ago, 18 months ago. Now he's probably one of the most sought after coaches in Europe. You know, so sometimes a bit of patience, work with the manager you've got. Why is it not working? What could be? I speak to my manager every single day. Every single day I speak to my manager with bar none.
Just to follow with the bit you're saying there, we hope I speak for many saying Stephen's been really engaging with the fans. He was in the bar here after the game on Saturday. He sort of talked well about the relationship that's building already, so certainly see that
that's good.
Working well with him.
Yeah, good. Yeah, my manager's in the bar and all of our players after every single home game, and that interaction's really, especially with the juniors. They love seeing the players. Yeah. So how are we doing for time? Should we just say 2 more questions? Yeah. So, sir.
Yeah, to follow on to that then, next season will his budget be the same amount as it has this season?
He's seeing what his budget is now. I'm aware of what that is, and it's making sure that that is sustainable. Obviously, you've got still some quite big crowds to come, so as each week goes by, we'll have a better feel of where the finances are. But we will set a budget that's competitive. It will be agreed with the manager. That's all I can really tell you, and we will be able to compete and compete well.
Actually, linked to that, can I ask another question? So, professional last year, hybrid this year, next year, what are the thoughts? I appreciate it's around budget, it's around which division, but do you have any sort of ideas?
Yeah, I'm not precious about that. I think, I'm not sure at step 2 that a fully full-time professional outfit works unless you're like an Ebbsfleet and you're chucking £1 million, £1.5 million.
And have you got that money to spend?
No, we wouldn't spend that. But actually the hybrid model, there's sort of 2 schools of thought. So the hybrid model is great, and it's good particularly for the young footballers that have got the time and perhaps they're still doing it at home. The only thing is with the hybrid model that some managers and some chairmen feel at our level is there's some really, really good players at this level who actually took a decision to be part-time and like being part-time. So it's like we don't want to miss out on some of those players who maybe have had league experience, but they don't want to be full-time anymore. They've got a career and they want to work, but they still want to play football and they can still. So it's getting that balance. But that's a discussion I would have with the manager, and really I would say that's more of a manager's decision. But I would resist going to what I call a full professional format model, because unless you can spend over £1 million, you're wasting your money, and you'll end up just getting what I call some of the professional players that still want to be, well, I'm a professional footballer, but really they're not at that level. So it's getting that balance, but that's a manager's decision, I'd say. One more. I haven't spoken to you. Come on.
So I was going to say, it's probably following on from what you just said about budgets and that, obviously thinking ahead to next season, we probably want to be confident, we've got Kingy at the wheel, we're going to be National League next season. So when you're sitting down and sort of...
Maidenhead, none of them are in any danger of being in the relegation battle. The teams that are in the relegation battle are all full-time. So you look at it, if you've got the right manager and the right players, you can be very, very competitive. You know, that season when we were sat 7th and Gloucester were top, most of our players were on 125 quid to 200 pounds. And yet we were sat in the playoffs and we were above teams that were spending £400 or £500 on average on a player. So it's getting that, it's having the right manager, the right philosophy, attracting the right type of player. But again, that's a conversation. And once you've got into the National League, well then it's a whole different ball game. You know, you've got the live streaming coming on. There's more income going to start coming into the National League. And at the moment, 70% of that income goes to the National League and 30%, well 15% to the north and 15% to the south. So we get the bits at the moment. So if you can get into that National League, you know, there is more money available, more sponsorship. You know, you've got your live BT sport games. So there's an opportunity to monetize the club in a completely different way. And I think if you can then go to a full-time professional model, it probably is the right way. You know, you look at the money though that Wrexham and Oxford, you look at the clubs in that National League, it's just League 3, isn't it? Yeah. You know, there's bigger clubs in the National League than in League 2 and getting bigger crowds. So, yeah, I can't really answer that exactly, but yeah, of course, you want to be competitive no matter what division you're in, but you have to be the best you can afford. And what you don't want to do is to put a club at risk by gambling. And that's what too many clubs have done. You know, look what happened to Bury. You know, look what happened to, there's so many. I mean, you know, Scunthorpe, they're going to get relegated. That's if they're still here. You know, Southend United, they're what, days away from a potential winding up order. You know, where reckless owners. I mean, poor old Derby County, my heart bleeds for them. You know, there was an owner that sold the ground to himself to try and fudge the books, and you know that now they're in League One. So it's a balance. It's making the right commercial decisions and to be the best you can afford to be. You know, so I like to win. You know, in life I like to win. My wife was a British speed skating champion. She still wears the lycra on a Sunday. You know, so we like to win. So we're not coming here to be also rans. You know, we're quite comfortable running Hungerford. It's small, it's manageable. I've got my hand on the tiller. Everything goes through us. We're actually leaving a lot of love, a lot of warmth, but we want to test ourselves. So we're coming here to win. We're not coming here for any other reason. We want to win. So that probably is the best time. I'll take one more question. Go on, sir.
I have two, but I split one. Are you open to bringing in any additional directors or funding?
Yes, I said that. Yeah,
very expensive.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I waited that one, so let me have a second. This is even less important. My 9-year-old daughter had to ask this: are you going to bring the Bullpit Beast Burger to the Tiger Test?
Well, obviously we can't call it the Bullpit Beast because we play at Bullpit Lane. So we were thinking of the Mighty Raw, something like that. So the Raw Burger and the Mighty Raw. How's that? Got a bit of a ring.
We get Raw Wednesday.
No, as in R-O-A. Anybody else dyslexic? We are dyslexic friendly. Right, was that it?
Yeah.
Okay, listen, thank you so much for your time. We'll still be here because I've still got my drink. I'm a pint drinking chairman. And look, I can tell he's done all the talking, can't you? So we'll still be here for a while, so by all means come and say hello. Like I say, today was about just a meet and greet, hopefully to put some of your minds at risk to see. rest. Put your minds at rest. You know, yeah, can't talk, but we do know what we're doing. So yeah, but honestly, thank you so much for coming out tonight. It really, you know, do appreciate it. And you know, next season you will see us lots and lots, and we're very approachable. Thank you very much for your time.